I can remember the very first time I ate spaghetti, and I ate it with a spoon and a fork, and the person feeding it to me showed me how to twirl the fork in the spoon and make the spaghetti go into a big lump. Why am I telling you that? Well, there's quite a lot going on over at the fair, and I thought, why not add something else? Now, there's a few things over there that I remember, vegetable stalls and especially the street organ, the brass band and all of that good stuff. But there's the ice cream stand over there. But what about this? What about a hot dog stand? Now, I told you I remember the first time I ate a plate of spaghetti. I also remember the first time I had a hot dog. It's an American thing, I think, or a German thing, certainly. But we didn't have them in England at all. Some of you are old enough to remember the ads that Pizza Hut ran when they introduced themselves to England in the 80s, or to London in the 80s anyway. An important, I don't remember how it went exactly, traditional American, they didn't call it Italian, a traditional American pizza with one important addition, and they had a knife and fork because we don't eat food with our fingers, or didn't back in the day. Hot dogs, no, never heard of them. So let's bring this layout into the I don't know, 1970s. Let's have a discussion. I'm not going to look on the internet. Let's find out when hot dogs first came to England in mass. Now, I'm sure somebody had them back in the 1800s, but let's see when hot dogs first came. We'll put a hot dog stand at the railway station, shall we? Now, this scene is fairly well established. I'm not really sure where to put it. I will say there's one or two things I really like it. I love this stand. You see it? It's lit, and yet it still moves. There's a wire coming up one of the posts. The caravan has a light in it. That's Hillary. We can put a light in this one. Let's have a look. Now, these things come screwed into little boxes like this. Two little screws underneath them. And where the screws come out, it leaves a tiny little hole. So without any adaptation whatsoever, these little LEDs, you can poke them through the hole. They sort of fit. See if I can get it in there. There we go. So it's inside somewhere. I don't know where it's gone. And then we've got a battery here, and I will jam the wires onto there and hold them with my fingers. And we'll have a look, see what it looks like, a light. Now, this is how I did the caravan. So we don't drill holes or anything. What we do is we whap a little bit of glue on the LED. There we go. So we make sure we get the right color. That's too orange for me. But we'll poke it up inside. You see that? And so that's nicely lit. So we will do that and get on with that. But the one I just flashed into shot there, the Ford Anglia. They really were police cars. These days, far more known as the Harry Potter car. I had a friend, he was a Marine trumpeter. He was also in the marching band with the Marines. I used to bang a drum marching up and down, but he was a trumpeter, and he was in the real Marines. And he went all over the world. I didn't. Well, he had one of these, and it was a lovely car, and we would drive along, and I was always in the back. I was just a teenager when he was already heading into much more of being an adult. But he didn't like his Ford Anglia, and he wanted a BMW. And so he got himself a BMW, and we were driving from Deal in Kent to Margate to a concert. And halfway there, I said, "Frank, there's a little light in your dashboard." He said, "Yes, that's a special light only BMWs have, and it lights up the dash at night." And I said, "Well, it doesn't look like it's lighting anything up, but it is getting brighter. He said, no, 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 it's fine, it's fine. I said, well, it really does look like it's a fire. And he said, no, no. Then there was smoke, and then we had to get out of the car, and then we had to call the fire brigade. And so Frank went back to driving his Ford Anglia, very embarrassed. But actually, I think these days, if his was dark blue, if he had this today, we often say that, don't we? I love these things. I've never had one. I don't think I've ever driven one either. So the Harry Potter car just became a police car, and we will take that off the base and put it up by the big station. Also in my bag of bits from my last visit to London, these are the traction tyres. I need those too. I actually need 4 of those. I think they gave me all they had. I think there's only 2 in there. So I think that will get one of the locomotives working. And this is for the bubble car. And again, I only need 2, but there's 4 in there. So we'll be fine with those, and we'll see what we can do. All right, that's Frank there. And he's admiring the police car, remembering that he used to have one just like that. I wonder if I could get that light to come on. Probably could. Let's have a quick look. Probably could, because the bottom comes off. There's a couple of screws in it, and could get a blue LED up inside that. Might do that. But that's a project for another day. There's Frank with his car that is now a police car. Right, the project of the night. So there's lots of little itty bits and pieces, but how about this one? While I was on my last trip, I get a notification if a delivery arrives, and I thought, what on earth is that? And couldn't figure it out, so I asked Hillary to open it, and she said, oh yes, I think it must be zoo animals or something, because it says mid-zoo on it. Mid-zoo. So Pro Industrial probably gives it away. It came in a great big package, so you can tell which company it came from. And inside this box is a little envelope, and inside the little envelope are some components. Do you see those? Tiny things, aren't they? And inside the envelope, what we got in there is another little baggie. It's funny, this came in a big box, really. And inside there, let's pull one of them out. These were hard to find, surprisingly, because I didn't think they were that difficult. I'm having trouble finding basic electronic components. Somebody said the other day I should order some dual color or bicolor LEDs, but I simply can't find them other than red, green. Now, this is a reed switch, and what I'm trying to do here, what I'm trying to show you is that tiny little component. I'm going to put my pinky in there just to show you how small it is. You see that? And that's there is the LED that we're going to put in the burger van or the hot dog stall. And in my crocodile clip here, which I have at the end of this, you see I've got a magnet in there. Do you see that? Now you can't see the distance I am away from it, but as I come close to it, you see that? So that's what I was trying to do, is to see if we could actually see the mechanics of the thing. Let me get a piece of wire and point it out to you. So there are 2 metal plates there, and when you get a magnetic field in between them, there's a mechanical action inside there that makes the device conduct. So you usually can't see it. In some of the bigger ones, it's 2 different metals, and you can sometimes see them move. And I thought you might be able to on this one, but they're always encased in glass somewhere. I'm miles away from it, and look, it's still working. You can't see it. Well, today we can't see it. Essentially what it is, though, is 2 very thin pieces of metal with iron in them. They're always sealed up inside a glass tube, or these days, I suppose, plastic. The ones I've been using are in a square plastic housing, but the inside is very, very thin strips of metal called reeds for that reason. That when you put a magnetic field near them, because of the distance between them, the pieces of metal assume a north and south, and so are attracted to each other. So yeah, that's how they work, and that's what we're going to put. The reason I've got those is we're going to put one up by Gordon, Flash Gordon. Remember him? A couple of videos ago. I'll show you how it's going to work. Now you see that little glass bobble there. That's the new ones, and this is the old one. So this is a big square thing about the size of a sleeper, and the new ones, these ones here, I could probably get to sit on top of one sleeper and you wouldn't see it. But what I'm going to do is put them long ways. So drilling in two adjacent sleepers like that. I don't think you'll notice it. I was going to say we could paint it black or put in a signal detection unit or something, but I don't think it's necessary. We'll just drill a couple of holes, solder a couple of wires on, and have done with. So I will say the two ways to break these things. First of all, bending the wires too sharply, and then you break the glass and they shatter, then don't work anymore. And the second is passing too much current through them. They're quite often overdrawn with current. So what we're going to do is just, I've got wire strippers. Why aren't I using them? I don't know. And today I'm using solid wire, simply because it won't have to be messed with under the board so much, so I won't have to pin it up or tie it or pull on it. There's one, and we'll just put the another wire on the other side. Where is it? Here's one. Get some solder on that. Now you can see that, but I can't. There we go. And I've pulled the other wire off already. Did you notice? The heat shrink, the use of heat shrink actually can help the mechanical properties of the joint. That's good. What did I do with the other one? I pulled it off and I've probably dropped it on the floor or something. We'll find it, just to prove my soldering isn't always perfect. I know, it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be an expert here. I'm not an expert, not at all. It's been a long time since I did this for a living. There we go. That's working. Now we've got to drill some holes big enough. Do you see that? Look at that. Look, see when I turn it. You see that couldn't be a worse joint if I tried, could it? Do you see that ridiculous soldering joint? That's what happens when you're, I'm making excuses now, but that's what happens when you're looking through the lens of a camera. You're not looking at the joint itself. What I'm trying to do is get some surface area on. I need live solder now. That's all dead. All right, let's get this on there. The reason I've left the wires relatively long is because there's then more surface area for the solder if I'm not going to put heat shrink around it. Good. So there's where Flash is, Flash Gordon. He's taking pictures of trains on this line. I'm going to put it on this line. This line is more likely to have trains passing. Is that smart? He wants to be taking pictures of the locomotive. We could put it over here. I'm just feeling underneath. Where is a place where there is going to be a train coming that doesn't have cables everywhere underneath there? It's right where I want to drill, there's this. So we're going to have to find somewhere else. So somewhere here. I've got my hand underneath. There is a wiring loom there. But if I go through this one, and that one, I think we'll be fine. Let's see. So now I've got to get these wires down those holes. They fit, look at that. And this one down that one. I'm moving, there is a wiring loom right underneath this, but I've moved it out of the way. Now we'll pull this down. Of course there's a kink in the cable. Of course there is. That's what happens when you use solid core cable. All the way down with you. Now, gently does it. Gently does it. I pulled one of the wires off. Of course you did, Ian. There we go. I think we've got it. The white around the edges there is the glue that's on some of the sleepers. I happen to choose one that has that. You can see it if you're looking. You could incorporate it into a crossing if you want to be really perfectionist, but that's right in the middle of the tracks. Let me show you from a normal viewing perspective. That's it there. Unless you were looking for it, you would not see it. You could, as I say, you make it into automatic train warning system, or you could put a crossing there or whatever. So that's the magnetic switching called a reed relay. It had to be done, didn't it? So I've stuck the magnet underneath the Pullman there on the screw of the bogie, and as you see flash over there, watch as I push the train by. Flash. So it is now working. And while the flash is actually not prototypical for the time, it's what we recognize. So there we go. So it's working. Look at that. And that is controlled by that reed relay. Covered this before. So any train I want to have photographs taken of, we just attach a magnet to the screw. This one has a steel screw underneath the bogie, and there's actually two on that one. So yeah, success. Now, if I am really going to run these carriages, I really do have a little bit of work to do on them, don't I? Got to find a corridor interconnector. Now, these were a later iteration of the same thing. This is an earlier version again. Do you see the roofs on these are silver and then grey? And then there's the funeral train down there that has grey with the pipe work and the vents and so on. There's a couple of those. And then there's another version there. Do you see that? So lots of different versions. I will say between this and this, I prefer this, except that it has the interconnecting corridor missing and couplings missing. But we will be just fine with that. And I'm sure I can add some sort of lighting. I think the table lights are going a bit far, but yeah. So Flash Gordon over there will take pictures of it every time it goes by, which is rather nice. So today you met Frank and his Ford. And I don't have a fire engine. I do. That's the only fire engine I have, I believe. The Green Goddess that isn't green. I must get myself a fire engine. Frank's Ford Anglia was dark blue. His BMW was shiny black. So I need a fire engine, don't I? I can recreate that scene for Frank. And good excuse to go to Jane's Trains again next week. I think I saw a fire engine. I should have picked it up then, shouldn't I? Well, that's it for another one. Let me know what you want to see. Somebody asked me, can we make a stay alive ourselves? Well, I can't see why not. We'll have a look at that. That would be one thing. Just let me know what it is you'd like me to attempt, and I'll give it a go. Another video coming up here, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye now.